If anyone has any queries with regards to the cytology, I would request you to get in touch with the organizers and they will forward it to him to answer them as per his convenience. Before our next speaker, we would like to take a short break. Our next speaker is Dr. Jayanti, Ms. Jayanti Jha from India. Her presentation is in the next 30 minutes. The organizers will get back to you shortly. Yes. Ms. Jayanti, welcome to the EPUCG conference. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead with your presentation. We're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah, so hello everyone. I am Jayanti Jha and I'm a second year PhD scholar from AIIMS, India. I'm doing PhD in ocular pathology. So the topic of my presentation is role of pigmentation marker in uveal melanoma and its association with clinico-pathological parameters. So uveal melanoma, it is most common in intraocular malignancy in adults, and it involves uveal layer of the eye, majorly choroidal layer. So this is the gross diagram of uveal melanoma, and this is the choroidal melanoma. And it can be also rarely seen in ciliary body as well as iris. So tumor basically arises from the melanocytes that is present in the uveal layer and provides color to the eye. Some of the major symptoms include decreased visions, flashes, floaters, etc. So with an estimated worldwide 7095 cases, Asia and Africa contributes the least, that is around 0.2 to 0.4 million, that is 1600 cases per year. Whereas in white Americans, the incidence rate is around 6.02 per million. The mean age of their presentation is around 45 to 80 years, and their median survival is 5 to 6 months. Metastasis mainly occur in liver and can be also seen in lungs, skin, or bone. So there are many treatments which are there for uveal melanoma. First is transpapillary thermotherapy, in which infrared laser is used and it is pointed towards the tumor site and which causes tumor necrosis. Or there is brachytherapy, where radioactive seeds are used as plaque, and through radiation, the tumor can be killed. Then there is laser photocoagulation, in which laser beam is used to burn the tumor. All these treatments are used when we can save the visibility of the eye, but when the condition is severe, then the ultimate option is enucleation, that is eyeball is completely operated out. So uveal melanoma histopathologically can be classified on the basis of cell type, that is spindle, epithelioid, and mixed. Spindle cell type having with long cell and less prominent nucleolus, and it shows good prognosis. But in epithelioid cell type, there is abundance of cytoplasm and most prominent nuclei, and it shows worse prognosis. In mixed cell type, both spindle and epithelioid cell type can be seen, and if it is not treated early, then mixed cell type also result in worse prognosis of the patient. So there are major clinical as well as pathological high risk factors associated with uveal melanoma. So some clinical factors are tumor height more than 8 mm, detachment of retina, decreased vision, advanced tumor staging, LTD more than 15 mm, as well as iris neovascularization. And these are some pathological high risk factors, that is epithelioid cell type, ciliary body or scleral invasion, extraocular invasion, presence of mitotic figure or infiltrating lymphocytes, as well as tumor-associated macrophages, pigmentation, and LTD. So in this presentation, I'm considered about the pigmentation as the high risk factor in uveal melanoma. So as we all know that as the pigmentation increases, cancer risk decreases. That is African and Asian have least cancer risk as compared to Britishers because of the presence of melanin in Asian or African population. In Asian population, there is the eumelanin is very prominent, that is dark in color, and in white population, pheomelanin is prominent, that is lighter in color. In this study, we are studying about the Asian population, so our focus is on eumelanin. So this is the fact which we are aware that as the pigmentation increases, cancer risk decreases. But there are studies which show that there is the aggressive role of pigmentation as well. That is, hyperpigmentation can produce many immunosuppressive, mutagenic, and reactive intermediates that results in the increase in tumor growth. Melanin act as the scavengers of oxygen. So as a result of hyperpigmentation, it contributes to hypoxia as well, which is also responsible for tumor growth. And all these make melanoma cells more aggressive, which becomes resistant to chemotherapy as well as radiotherapy. Literature also shows that the decreased melanin synthesis is less in advanced melanomas as compared to as compared to advanced melanomas. Increased pigmentation is also associated with distant metastasis, which has been seen in cutaneous melanomas. So we can say that pigmentation can act as a double-edged sword. So why are we studying pigmentation? Because according to literature, it is associated with hypoxia as well as necrosis, large tumor size, epithelioid cell type, inflammation, as well as metastasis. So coming to the point that melanogenesis. So production of melanin pigment is called as melanogenesis. This is the diagram of melanocyte, which consists melanosomes and having melanin granules, which buds off the melanin pigment from the dendrites. It is widely distributed in skin, hair, as well as uveal layer of the eye. And this melanin is responsible for pigmentation, which is an effective absorbent of UV radiation and protects us from cancer. So this is the melanogenesis pathway. This is a complete melanocyte, and through various hormone like melanocyte stimulating hormone, there is the initiation of signaling pathway, and which activates the transcription factor, which ultimately goes inside the nucleus of melanocyte and activates different genes responsible for pigmentation. These genes like TRP1, PMEL, they are transported to melanosome and initiate the melanogenesis pathway. So this is the melanogenesis pathway inside melanosome. So it starts from the L-tyrosine, and tyrosinase, which is the initiator enzyme, it initiates the pathway, and it can result into the synthesis of eumelanin and in pheomelanin. So in this eumelanin, which is present in Asian population, various enzymes are required like TRP2, TRP1, SILF. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about TRP1 and as well as hypoxia, as melanin is also associated with hypoxia. So earlier in uveal melanoma, some studies have been done. That is, it is in literature, it is there that pigmentation does not act as a protective mechanism, but it could act as a risk factor in the development of uveal melanoma, which was seen in white population. And few studies are also available which shows that pigmentation might be associated with the worst prognosis of uveal melanoma, but there is no studies in Asian population found in literature. So TRP1, it is known as tyrosinase related protein 1, which is present in membrane of melanosomes and is responsible for the production of melanin quality. It is a key enzyme in the pathway of melanin synthesis, and it is synthesized in greatest abundance, and it also regulates the tyrosinase activity, which is the initiator enzyme of melanogenesis pathway, and also is a rate limiting enzyme. So there is one study available which shows high expression of tryptophan in uveal melanoma cell line, but studies has not been done in patient samples. So as I have earlier told you that I'm also going to talk about hypoxia marker, as melanocytes, they decrease the concentration of oxygen as they are scavengers of oxygen, and they create the hypoxic condition, which results in tumor growth. So HIF1 alpha is one of those factors which regulates the tumor microenvironment in presence of low oxygen tension. So it has been, its expression has been seen in many cancers, including uveal melanoma, but its importance with pigmentation has not been studied. So our aim is to detect the expression of tryptophan in association with HIF1 alpha in high as well as low pigmented uveal melanoma, and then their correlation with patient outcome. So this study is a prospective study where we have recruited 61 enucleated, fresh tissue of 61 enucleated uveal melanoma sample, and 10 normal choroid was taken as positive control. And the post-chemotherapy and radiotherapy patients were excluded in this study. So we have collected, this is material in 61 enucleated specimens were collected, out of which we have extracted RNA of only 50 samples, and then we did real-time PCR for both the genes TRP1 and HIF1 alpha, and all 61 tissues were also formalin fixed, which were used for immunohistochemistry, and then their cytoplasmic staining was analyzed. More than 50% was given positive staining, and less than or equal to 50% was given negative staining. Then we have collected patient details, their demographic, clinical data, their histopathological high risk factors were analyzed, and their follow-up was done for 6 to 48 months. Then in statistical analysis, we have done chi-square tests to compare tryptophan and HIF1 expression with clinicopathological parameters, and we did Kaplan-Meier survival analysis also. So this is the demographic detail of uveal melanoma patients. So there was male preponderance in our study, and 72% patients were above age of 40 years, and 43% patients have advanced clinical staging. 7 patients developed metastasis, out of which one was dead during follow-up. So 75% patients showed high pigmentation, and 36% showed epithelioid cell type. Scleral, iris or ciliary body, and optic nerve invasion was also seen in patients. 50 high power field, and necrosis was present in around 30% patients. Lymphocytes were seen in 26% patients. So this is the tryptophan expression in in skin, which was taken as a positive control, and this is the low pigmented case where there is very less expression, that is almost around 10%, and this is the high pigmented case where we can see tryptophan expression very clearly. So similar result was obtained when we did immunohistochemistry for HIF1 alpha. So this is RPE, retinal pigment epithelium cell, which was taken as positive control. And again, there is very less stain in the low pigmented uveal melanoma case compared to high pigmented case. So then we have correlated tryptophan and HIF1, both the proteins, with clinicopathological parameters. So out of 61, 37 patients showed tryptophan expression, and 27 patients showed HIF1 alpha expression. So expression of both the proteins were positively correlated with high pigmentation, mitotic count more than 4 per 40 HPF, and as well as with BAP1 loss. So BAP1 is the known marker for uveal melanoma. So both the proteins were positively associated with the loss of BAP1. And tryptophan expression was also associated with high LTD, as well as advanced tumor staging. And HIV-1 alpha was also associated with necrosis and metastasis as well. Then we also checked mRNA expression of both the genes. So there was, compared to normal uveal tissue, in tissue, there was 6-fold increased in TRP1 expression and around 4-fold increased in the HIV-1 alpha expression. Then again, for mRNA expression also, we have correlated it with clinicopathological parameters. So RNA was extracted from 50 patients out of 61. So out of 50 patients, 30 patients showed positive TRP1 mRNA expression and 30% patients showed positive HIV-1 alpha mRNA expression. Both were again correlated with high pigmentation and BAP1 loss. HIV-1 alpha mRNA expression was also well correlated with high tumor staging. Then we did Kaplan-Meier analysis. We didn't get positive correlation with HIV-1 alpha, but with TRP1 alpha, the survival analysis was correlated. So to conclude, the high expression of both TRP1 and HIV-1 alpha was more common in patients with histopathological high risk factors like high pigmentation and necrosis. High pigmentation might affect the tumor microenvironment, which could result in tumorigenesis. So TRP1 may be a potential biomarker likely to have a therapeutic value in uveal melanoma, but further studies are required in the larger cohort of patients with longer follow-up, and there is the need of translational validation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jayanti. Very informative and well-researched presentation. I would like to ask any of the participants if they would like to ask any questions to Ms. Jayanti. Kindly ask it now, or you can even post them in the chat group. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.